Welcome to Just the Two of Us Homestead. We are Colleen and Frank, and we live in the perfect size homestead just for us in southwestern Quebec. Gardening, growing food, and preserving is one of our passions. And our barn animals, we love them so much, they're just like pets. And we're so fortunate to be able to live our lives as we do. Each and every day is a blessing. Good morning, everyone. Well, it's a very cold, dreary day here, and I thought there's nothing better than to make a homemade stew, and I'm going to do it in the crock pot. So it's going to be a beef and barley stew, and I thought I'd bring you along and show you how I make it. And what I love about doing this is just about everything is from our homestead. This beef is still from our cow. We still have quite a bit of meat from the cow we had. It's the ground beef that we don't have any more of. So I'll be using parsnips, carrots, and potatoes from our garden. The onion is organic from Aldi. I'll be using beef stock, pearl barley, some seasonings, and I have Better Than Bouillon, but it's organic Better Than Bouillon. So I'm just going to get a few things organized, and then I'm going to show you how I make it. It's going to slow cook all day, and then we'll have supper. So I'm just going to drain this off and get a few things ready. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is make a little flour thing to dredge the beef in, because I'm going to sear the meat before I put it in the crock pot, and dredging it in the flour will thicken the sauce while it's cooking, and I'll add beef stock to it. So I'm just going to season the flour just for extra flavor. So about a teaspoon and a half of onion powder, and I'll do the same thing with the garlic powder. I'll take a bit of salt, about half a teaspoon maybe, because the bouillon will be salty as well. And this is freshly ground black pepper. I'm just going to mix that all up. There we go. Just put that aside. Now our beef is already cubed, but I want it smaller. That's, for me, too big. So I'm going to cut it in smaller pieces. And then I will put it through the flour, and then I'm going to sear it in a cast iron pan. So I'm only going to take a few pieces at a time, and I'm just going to use my hands. My hands are very clean. That's one thing you never have to worry about me, is I'm bonkers about having clean hands. Let's play a game, how long my hair is going to stay down. I'm trying to keep it down so I always don't look like, I don't know. I don't want to say something to offend anybody, but I keep my hair long for two reasons. One, so I don't ever have to fuss with it. I can just put it back up in a clip or whatever. And two, oh my God, I'm opening the wrong thing. And two, my hair is a very, very naturally curly and frizzy. The shorter my hair is, the curlier it goes. So if I have it short, and let's say I washed it today and let it go natural, or even if I blow dried it, when I sleep on it tonight, tomorrow I would wake up looking like a rooster. It would be like all like up here or somewhere. So I keep it long for convenience, but it drives me crazy when I'm cooking, especially, that it's always down. I don't find it good when your hair is down when you're cooking too. And I get so hot when it's on my neck. So trying to see if I can get through a whole video with my hair down. But what's going to happen is, because this is going to be cooking all day, I'm not going to go through the day with my hair down. I'm going to put it in a clip. And then when I take out the clip and come back later with my hair down, you're going to see big kink marks where I had the clip. So it's not going to be good either way. So back to the stew. So now that my pan is getting hot. Last night we had steak for dinner from our cow. We only have 2 left, I believe. So Frank seasoned it and made beautiful steaks. So I took the cast iron pan and I kept it in the fridge overnight because there's tons of flavor in this pan. So I just added some bacon grease, and now I'm going to take our floured beef cubes and I'm going to sear them here. I'm going to bring you in to see, but I also have a big stock pot of chicken broth or chicken stock going. So I'm going to try for you guys to see best as you can, but either way I switched burners, it wasn't going to work right. So let's see how it goes. There, I think you can see okay. And I'm doing this in 2 batches because I don't want to overcrowd the pan. And I'm not going to move them. I'm going to let them sear on one side. And it already smells delicious because of the seasoning that was in the pan. There, that's what I want. I may have to add more bacon grease. You could use whatever fat you want. I just think the bacon grease makes nice flavor to it, but I've done it with other fats. Okay, I'm going to take these ones out and do the next batch. They're not burnt. It's because there's so much of the seasonings on them. I just got a char on them. See all that stuff on the bottom? That's what's on the meat. They're not burnt. Okay, we're all done. Literally just takes a minute per side because the pan is nice and hot. And now we're going to add some of that beef broth into the pan and not waste all that flavor. So all my meat's going in. Now this is the hard part. I'll see if I can do it on my own, because this pan is so heavy. Yeah. And get all that beautiful juice and flavor, and it cleans my pan almost at the same time. So now I'm just gonna cut up my vegetables. I purposely picked most of the potatoes are like small. It's a great way to use them up. Some of them I'll still cut in half. I don't have the right knife. And I was requested to add lots of potatoes. Duh. Oh, by the way, the French fries, big hit. They're not going to last long at all. Now he wants French fries with every meal. And this is going to look like a lot for 2 people. But first of all, it's going to cook down. It's going to shrink. But usually with a meal like this, I cook with the intention of leftovers. So this will probably do us a whole other meal on top of tonight's supper. There, so everything's in there. And there is a bit of liquid at the bottom from what I took out of the frying pan, but that's not near enough, even though the vegetables are going to give off a little bit of liquid. But since I'm adding barley, they're going to cook and swell. So I have to add more. It's like cooking rice. They're going to take up a lot of liquid. So I'm using pearl barley. There's pot barley and pearl barley. And in my opinion, pearl barley is better for anything like this, like beef and barley soup or stew. So I'm going to put like, I don't know, I guess almost half a cup. I guess about half a cup. So I'm going to put the rest of my beef broth in. I may even still have to add more, and that's not a problem. I have lots of beef stock downstairs. And I only added about that half a teaspoon of salt. So I'm going to take maybe 2 heaping teaspoons of the Better Than Bouillon. And I'm still going to add just a touch. This is all your own personal taste, whatever you like to put in your stew. I don't want to add a lot. We like just the flavor of the meat and the vegetables. So I'm just adding not even half a teaspoon of onion and garlic powder, maybe even a quarter. Some more pepper. And then once it's cooking, then I'll taste it for salt, because I don't know how salty the bouillon is yet. So I'm going to mix that all in to get that bouillon distributed. And the supper is made. I'm going to push it down the best I can. Put my lid on. Move it over here. Oh, I made a mess. How did I get bouillon all the way over there? And remember, my crock pot lid doesn't fit right, so I put a towel over it. And I'm going to put this on low and let it cook all day long slowly. And don't go anywhere, because this afternoon I'm going to make an apple cobbler from scratch with apples, meaning I'm not opening an apple pie filling or anything like that. We're going to take the raw apples, make our own little pie filling thing, and make a cobbler. And I'm going to make a no-knead artisan bread to go with our stew. So that'll be later this afternoon, and I'll clean up this mess and supper is ready. So I'll see you in just a bit. I'm back, and I had a little lie down, so my eyes look a bit tired. I apologize. I can't get away with that no matter what. The second I close my eyes on a pillow, I end up with sleepy eye. So sorry about that. And I apologize also that I didn't get a video out this past week. It wasn't the best week for me. But I'm up to it today, and I'm happy to do it. So we're going to start with the bread. It's the easiest bread you'll ever make in your life, anybody can do it. Your hands aren't even going to touch the dough. So this is like an artisan bread. You're going to need 13 ounces of warm water. And yes, I have to look at the recipe. I don't know how other people do it. They must have it like written on their tripods or something, because I don't memorize every recipe. So 1¼ teaspoons of yeast, just regular active dry yeast. So 1¼ 1½ teaspoons of salt, just going to give this a little stir. And 4 cups of bread, 3½ cups of bread flour. I'm going to bring you in close in a sec to show you what I'm going to do. And you don't level it off or anything. You just kind of scoop it and shake it. 2, 3, and a half. And what we're going to do is take the opposite end of the spoon and just stir it like this until all the flour's incorporated. You can change directions, and it just takes a minute or two before it's all incorporated. The only thing is you may have to scrape the sides down a bit to make sure you get all the flour. Yeah, I'm not sure if I mentioned it or not, but it is bread flour. So you're going to do this till you get a shaggy ball. You're not going for a smooth, fancy dough ball here. You're going for a shaggy ball. And that's about it. All the flour's incorporated. And that's our dough. So what I'm going to do is take a clean dish towel. My favorite bread towel isn't here. It's in the laundry. I usually take, this is an older one, but I take like a lightweight tea towel. I'm just going to cover it. And because I have the soup stock on the stove, it's nice and warm over here. I'm just going to let it sit there. It has to rise for an hour and a half. Then we're going to take our spoon again, stir it around, coat it with like maybe a tablespoon of flour, put it in a cast iron pan. You don't even need a special pan. Let it rise for half an hour, and then it goes in the oven, and you're going to have the most delicious bread. So while that's rising, I'm going to clean up this, and we're going to make our apple cobbler. I have 6 medium-ish apples here that I just washed, and I'm going to peel them and chop them up, and then I'll be right back and we'll get the recipe together. But you don't need to see me peel and chop apples. So before we start making this, I want to show you what I've been making. There's a bigger one of these, but when I made all the applesauce, I don't know, over a week ago, I'm making apple scrap vinegar. So it's really starting to ferment now. There's a bigger one over there, but I don't want to lift it. But I'm really happy. I've never done it before. So I have them kind of in a dark part of the behind the microwave over there. I think I have 5 days left before I have to strain them. Anyway, back to this. So I have 6 cups, 6 medium apples. It said to cut them about a 1/4 inch thick. I did some a bit bigger, some a bit smaller, whatever the piece was. So the first part of the recipe is going to be done on the stove. And we need a 1/3 cup of brown sugar, packed. Mine is homemade. And now I have it all over my hand. A tablespoon of cornstarch, but I'm using tapioca starch. A tablespoon of lemon juice. A 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, or more, because I always spill it. A teaspoon of cinnamon. 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. And 1/8 teaspoon of salt. And we need 1 cup of water or apple juice. I make our own apple juice, so I'll just use that. I think I poured a bit much. So we just mix all this together, and then we're going to add the apples and bring it to the stove. And we're going to cook it on a medium heat for 3 to 5 minutes. I'm going to go for the 5 so it gives me time to make the batter. So that's what it looks like. It's going to obviously get thicker when it's cooking with the cornstarch or tapioca starch. Now for our batter. I've got the stew smell. I have the chicken stock smell. I have apple and cinnamon. Then we'll have the bread smell. All right, we need 1 cup of flour. Oh, I better melt the butter first. 5 tablespoons of butter melted. Okay, for the batter, 1 cup of flour. I'm telling you, it is so handy having all my dry ingredients here. One cup of sugar. 2 teaspoons baking powder. 1/4 teaspoon salt. And then we're going to mix this all together. And then we're going to add our milk and butter. And I'm just going to check on the topping. Nothing yet, because I have the world's slowest stove. Okay, I think we're good. It's nice and thick, like apple pie filling. Like, it's almost all thick. So I'm going to turn it off, and we'll finish off our batter. We are going to spray a 9 by 13 pan. And we're going to take our cooked apples and pour them in first. Oh, it smells so good. It smells just like apple pie. Just spread that around. 3/4 of a cup of milk. This measuring cup bothers me because most people are right-handed. No offense to the left-handed people, but the cup measurement is on the other side. So I always have to turn it this way to see the cup measurement. But I'm so used to holding it the other way. So, you know what? I'm getting my little one because that one doesn't mark 3/4. Oh, this one too. It's all on the other side. I guess they really want you to use the metric system. So we're going to add 3/4 of a cup of milk, 5 tablespoons of melted butter. Where's that spatula I had? And we're just going to mix until it's combined. Don't overmix it, just like any cobbler. And we take our batter and pour it over the apples. So it goes into a 350 oven. It says for 38 to 40 minutes. I'm going to check it at 35 because my stove top is slow, but for some reason my oven cooks faster. So I'm going to check it at 35. And I'm going to show you, I'm just going to clean up real quick and I'll show you what the stew looks like right now. Hold on, I forgot something. Ooh. You're supposed to sprinkle it with cinnamon, and the reason I forgot it is because Frank isn't the biggest cinnamon fan, so I'm doing it very lightly. So it doesn't say how much to do, so I tend to always go light on cinnamon because he isn't the biggest fan. He likes it, but not overpowering. So I just put probably what doesn't even equal half a teaspoon. Okay, now I'm going to clean up for real. It hit me when I was putting the cinnamon away. I'm losing a lot of the natural light, sorry. So it doesn't look like I have to add any more liquid, which is fine. I'm just going to give a taste to the broth to see how that is, if I need to add any more salt right now. And I don't know if you can see the barley. I'll get a spoon. At first I thought, what's all that little stuff floating in there? Well, it's the barley. I'll give it a little taste. Oops. That's a nice rich flavor. It does need a touch of salt though. Might have gone a little bit heavy on the bouillon. Something smells pretty good. I did it the full 40 minutes. Oh my gosh. That's divine. I know the lighting's bad, but look at that. I'm actually going to move this out of the way for a second because our bread is ready to play with. So it's more than doubled in half. Yeah, twice doubled. So I'm going to put the camera on it again so you can see what I'm going to do and how easy it is. Just take the end of your spoon again, your wooden spoon, and you're going to, it's like the same thing as punching it down, but it's a sticky dough. So you're just going to go around like this, get all the air out of it. Now, because it's a sticky dough and you want it to look nice when it's baking, you're going to take just a little bit of flour. I'm going to use my fingers. Just spread it around your bowl like this and on top of your bread. And you're just going to go around like this. It's called roll to coat. I'm going to get it a bit under here too, a bit. Okay, now I'm going to get my pan to put it in. So I'm going to spray my cast iron pan. If you had one a little bit smaller than this one, it would be even better. I have one that's too small for this. I think this is a 12-inch. Probably a 10-inch would be even better. And then I should have a spatula, but I think I've dirtied them all. I'm just going to put them like that. Maybe put a bit more flour on him so he looks really pretty when he's cooked. And so he doesn't stick to the dish towel again when I cover him up. So we're going to cover it for 30 minutes. And now I'm going to preheat the oven to 400. And after 30 minutes, it goes in the oven for 40 minutes. And we'll have a beautiful roundish loaf of bread. So I'm just going to set it back on the stove because my chicken stock's still warm and the oven will be preheating so it's nice and warm. And then before we put it in the oven, I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, time's up. This is what I meant by if you had a 10-inch cast iron pan, it would be better. See how mine has spread? If I had just a little bit smaller of a cast iron pan, it would have been more rounded. It's still going to be terrific. It just would have been not as flat. So now I'm going to put it in the oven. Because mine went a little more flat, it's supposed to cook for 40 minutes. I usually go about 35 because I'm not going to have the height as much. But the best way to tell if your bread is cooked, is you can always just use a thermometer, and usually most breads are ready around 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm going to check mine at 35 minutes, and that's it. That was the easiest bread you'll ever make. So I'll see you back when that is done, and our cobbler's done, the stew's still going, and it's an easy dinner. The timer just went off, and I'm pretty sure it's ready. It smells ready, but I will double check. I'm already over 200. So So if you, like I said, had a smaller cast iron, your bread would be higher. Mine spread, but it's going to be delicious. I'm going to show you it close up what the flour does to make it look like a nice artisan bread. But oh, sorry, I'm all stuffed up now. See, the flour just gives it that nice baker look on it. And you can hear how lovely it is. So that's got to cool for a bit. We have about another half hour or so on the stew, and then supper will be all ready. We had a few green beans left over from last night's supper, so I'm just going to throw them in. And I'm probably going to take, well, maybe I'm not. I was going to thicken the sauce a bit with the tapioca starch, but it seems to have really thickened up. So I don't think I will. I'm just going to check the vegetables. I'll pick like the biggest potato and see how they're going. Just about. Oh, looks good. All right, it's supper time. I'm taking a bit of a chance on the bread. It's not completely cool, but it's perfect. I know I'm holding it funny, but it's going to move. There, look at that. And I didn't go heavy on the bouillon. Now that it's finished cooking, and I didn't thicken it either, the barley has finished plumping up, so Frank gave it a taste test and he loved it. And I will do a portion of the dessert. We've both resisted having that. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it in one swoop. Oh, maybe. I made one little mess. Nothing says fall like a delicious bowl of homemade stew, beef and barley stew. I love putting the barley in it. I love beef and barley soup too. And homemade bread, a beautiful apple dessert, fall's written all over this. And apparently somebody in the living room is very hungry, so I better wrap this up. He's been going crazy, smelling all the things cooking all afternoon. So thank you so much for spending the afternoon with me. I'm part of the morning cooking, and until we're together again, take care.